Another successful man falls, and we keep acting surprised. But the truth...
So Megan Thee Stallion is out here looking like the most successful woman in the room. Grammy winner, hot girl CEO, built different, and Klay Thompson, 4 championship rings, $100 million contracts. One of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. On paper, this was the power couple nobody saw coming. Behind closed doors, it became the cautionary tale nobody can stop talking about. And here is the part that should make your stomach drop. Before Klay ever walked away from Megan, he had already walked away from himself.
Before a man ever betrays a woman, he has already betrayed himself. Attachment issues may explain why a man runs from covenant, but they do not absolve him from the responsibility to become a comprehensive man.
Picture this, a man standing in the middle of a room full of everything he ever worked for, the money, the status, the woman, the life, and instead of protecting it, he quietly lit a match, not because he was provoked, not because something was missing, but because nobody ever taught him how to govern what was happening inside him. That image right there is the entire story. Everything else is just the evidence catching up. If you are someone who actually pays attention beyond the headlines, who wants the real version of what happened and why, you are exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to the CelebTea files right now because we do not just cover the drama. We expose what the headlines are hiding. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Now let's get into it. Because the internet has been reacting to this Megan and Klay situation like it is just another celebrity split. Another scroll past moment. Another week of memes and then everyone moves on. Millions of fans online are picking sides, writing think pieces, flooding comment sections. But almost nobody is asking the question that actually matters. He betrayed himself before he betrayed her. That is not a lyric. That is not a talking point. That is the diagnosis. And once you understand it, you cannot unsee it. Let's go back, because context here is everything. Klay Thompson walks into this relationship carrying the weight of a career defined by discipline. The man is a shooter, literally built his entire professional reputation on repetition, focus, and showing up. 5:30 a.m. workouts, ice baths, film sessions, the kind of athletic self-mastery that makes other professionals look underprepared. The public image was bulletproof, disciplined athlete, focused professional, the guy who bounced back from not one, but 2 catastrophic injuries through sheer mental fortitude. So when the news breaks about what happened between him and Megan, the internet's first reaction is confusion. How does a man with that level of discipline fall like this? But here is what nobody is talking about. Discipline in your craft and discipline in your character are not the same thing.
A man can have discipline in his craft and still be completely undisciplined in his character. He can wake up early, train hard, build wealth, and still lack the internal governance over his emotions that's required to sustain.
They have never been the same thing. You can wake up before sunrise every single day and still have zero internal governance over your emotional impulses. Success in one lane does not automatically transfer to integrity in another. And the more access and options a man accumulates without building that internal structure, the more dangerous those options become.
Options in the hands of a man without sexual self-control will become more options for his downfall. Now, here's where many of us are misguided. Men look at situations like Meg and Klay and immediately start assigning blame. And
every door that opens without the right foundation becomes a trap door.
What he built. It is written, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls, completely exposed, completely vulnerable. See, in ancient times, cities were protected by walls that surrounded the city.
And trust me, the next part gets so much worse. Because when you look at the psychological layer underneath this, a pattern emerges that has nothing to do with Megan not being enough. Let's be crystal clear about that. A man's betrayal is not a report card on the woman he betrayed.
And it's easier to critique a woman than it is to confront your own lack of discipline, your own lack of sexual self-control. A man's betrayal is not always a reflection of a woman's worth.
It is a window into what he never resolved inside himself. Some men reach a certain level of wealth and recognition, and instead of feeling complete, they feel hollow. The money is real. The achievement is real. But the self-worth underneath it never got built on solid ground, so they look for external proof. Another woman's attention becomes evidence that they are still wanted.
Because they feel inadequate. They have money, but they lack a sense of self-worth. So they use women as proof that they are still desirable, still wanted, and still that guy. And there are some men who cheat because they never properly receive love, nurture, or affirmation from their mothers. So they keep trying to extract from women what they never allowed.
Still relevant. It is not about desire. It is about a wound that never healed, demanding to be filled with something temporary. He betrayed himself before he betrayed her. And here is the question that should be making you uncomfortable right now. How many men in positions exactly like Klay Thompson are sitting on top of everything they ever wanted and are one moment of unchecked impulse away from burning it all down? Because this is not a Klay Thompson problem. This is a pattern, a widespread, under-discussed, culturally enabled pattern where we celebrate men for what they build and never hold them accountable for what they refuse to examine internally. We teach men to acquire. We do not teach men to sustain. We glorify the grind and look away from the wreckage. And the wreckage here is not just a relationship. It is a woman who was publicly humiliated. Megan Thee Stallion, who has already endured one of the most scrutinized personal traumas in recent pop culture history, now has to watch the internet debate whether she was enough, whether she did something wrong, whether she somehow contributed to her own betrayal. Let that sit for a second. The deflection is the most infuriating part.
It's more often a revelation of his. We have to stop reducing cheating to something casual, my brothers, like it's just about sex, because it's not. It's about deception. It's about entitlement. It's about sin. It's about the willingness to look someone in the eyes and allow them to trust a version of you.
Because the moment a high-profile man does something like this, the conversation immediately pivots. She was too busy. She was too much. She should have seen the signs. It is the oldest misdirection in the playbook, and millions of people fall for it every single time. Blaming her is easier than confronting him. Critiquing her is more comfortable than examining the pattern. The outrage should be aimed at the behavior, not redistributed onto the victim. He betrayed himself before he betrayed her. But what does that actually mean on a practical level? It means that long before Klay sat across from Megan in any moment of intimacy, something inside him had already been fragmenting. Research in psychology points to what is known as avoidant attachment.
And psychologically, my brothers, this is where the conversation deepens. Some men cheat because they are avoidant. And from a psychological standpoint, that's rooted in what's called an avoidant attachment style. That pattern is often formed early when a boy learns consciously or unconsciously that emotional needs are not safe to express or won't be consistently met. So instead of learning how to depend, he learns how to detach. Instead of developing comfort with closeness, he develops
a pattern formed early in life when emotional needs go unmet or feel unsafe to express. Instead of learning to depend on closeness, a man with this wiring learns to control through distance. Commitment starts to feel like a threat rather than a foundation. And when a genuinely emotionally intelligent woman enters the picture and actually demands real presence, real consistency, real transparency, that internal wiring does not upgrade automatically. It self-sabotages, it runs. Or worse, it stays and deceives. And when a man moves through multiple encounters without ever doing the internal work, something shifts in how he processes intimacy altogether. His mind stops being fully present in one place because it is carrying the imprint of everywhere else he has been. That is not a connection. That is fragmentation wearing the costume of a relationship.
Moving from one woman to another, something begins to shift internally. His mind no longer stays present. Instead, it reaches back to past encounters, thinking about the other woman's body, her behavior, and even her touch. You're in one place with your body, but divided in your mind. That's not connection.
And from the outside, it looks like a functioning couple. But on the inside, one person is fully there and one person never truly arrived. Here is what makes this specific story hit different from every other celebrity breakup you have scrolled past this year. It is not just that a famous athlete allegedly cheated on a famous rapper. It is that this situation strips away every excuse the culture usually reaches for. He had money. He had status. He had a woman who by every public measure was extraordinary. There was no obvious deficiency in what was being offered to him, which means the only place left to look is inward. And that is exactly where the conversation never goes. But you are watching this channel because you actually want to go there. So where does this leave Megan? It leaves her exactly where she should not have to be, publicly processing a private betrayal while the internet votes on whether she deserved it. It leaves her having to maintain her brand, her image, her momentum, while carrying something that would quietly destroy most people. And it leaves every woman watching this with the same quiet realization. You can do everything right and still be in the room with someone who was never fully honest about who they were. The cost is always higher than the pleasure.
And when that man is presented with temptation, he doesn't fall because of temptation. He falls because he is spiritually undisciplined. Because as James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15 teaches us, temptation comes from within, my brothers. Desire gives birth to sin, and when left unchecked, it produces death.
Always. For everyone involved, that is not a moral lecture. That is just the receipts of how this ends every single time. So here is the question I want you to answer in the comments right now. Do you think Klay Thompson will ever publicly take real accountability for what happened with Megan? Not a PR statement, not a vague interview answer. real, direct, unscripted accountability. Drop your honest take below because this community does not do surface level. If this breakdown gave you something the regular entertainment news never does, then you already know what to do. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this conversation. Subscribe to the CelebTea Files and turn on notifications because we are covering the biggest celebrity scandals in real time and we go deeper than any headline ever will. The full story is always bigger than what they want you to see, and we make sure you see all of it.